Mayor, members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed.
Thank you so much, everyone. It is 6:05 p.m. The meeting will now reconvene. City Attorney, please provide the closed session report.
Thank you, members of the City Council and Successor Agency. The City Council and Successor Agency meetings are now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the two items listed on the agenda. As to item 4.1, by a vote of 5-0, the Successor Agency directed the city manager to issue a notice of termination of the purchase and sell agreement. As to item 4.2, staff provided a report for the item, but no reportable action was taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
If there's no objection by the City Council, I will now adjourn closed session, the council meeting at 6:06 p.m. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 9th, 2026, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and the Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. This meeting will now come to order at 6:06 p.m. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any members should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing yourself from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Minister Daniel Anguiano, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Chief Paul Camacho.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. If we can stand to our feet and as we come before God. Heavenly Father, we thank you, God. We come before you in this evening. God, I present before you our City Council members, every staff of this wonderful city, every department, Lord God, that helps keep this city operating, Father God, with all safety. And we also like to thank you for the President of our nation, God, that you may guide him and his cabinet, Lord, to lead, Father God, our nation, our city, with righteousness, with justice, and with integrity. Lord Father, I pray for those that you have set to bear the sword, Lord God, those officers that go out every day in and day out, Lord God, to keep us safe. And I just pray, Lord, that you may protect them and bring them home safely, God. And I just pray that you may guide us, Lord Father. Your word says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all knowledge and wisdom. And we pray that we may not lean on our own understanding, that we may lean on you to guide us, Father God, for that we will, Lord God, be an example city that will bring honor to you and to every member in this room. We just pray and thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, please do a roll call of the City Council.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena. Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilwoman Sanchez.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen.
Present.
Mayor De La Rosa.
Present. And we will now move to presentation. City Manager, please introduce the presentations, please.
Thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. The first of 6 presentations we have is a certificate of recognition for longtime resident Lorraine Wilds. If Ms. Wilds could please come to the podium.
Hi, Ms. Wilds. Here we present you this certificate of recognition. The Bell Garden City Council is proud to recognize Lorraine Wilds for her outstanding dedication and meaningful contributions to our community. As a resident of Bell Gardens for over 30 years, Lorraine has consistently demonstrated a deep commitment to service. Through her compassion, volunteerism, and willingness to always make a time for others, she has positively impacted countless residents. We thank you, Lorraine, for your dedication and for our community. Thank you so much. If you would like to state a couple words.
I'm greatly honored to be receiving this recognition from the city of Bell Gardens. Thank you, and thank my family, my friends, and the community.
Thanks. Thank you so much. And I've heard about your involvement in Touchpoint Church, I believe, and it's amazing all the work that's been done at a local scale and beyond, right? It's heart touching, and again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for everything. Thank you. And I will now open the dais to anyone who would like to make additional comments.
Ms. Wilds, on my behalf, I just want to say thank you so much for your service to the community. Thank you for your involvement. And we hope that you continually encourage residents, new residents, young residents to also follow in this path. So again, thank you so much for your service.
Ms. Lorraine, I want to say thank you, first of all, for your service to our community. And I also want to thank Touchpoint Church for being a platform and providing that space for you to be able to actually be involved and help our community. So thank you, and thank you to Touchpoint Church.
Thank you, and may you empower and inspire others to follow your lead.
Thank you for the continued service. You mentioned, community, that you're grateful to your family and the community, but I think the community thanks you for all the service that you have done. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much again. And Les, we'll take a photo up here in the front, and we'll be up shortly. Yes. City Manager, will you please announce the next recognition?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. The next item is a certificate of recognition for Bell Gardens Elementary School teacher, Leslie Hyatt. If you could please come to the podium.
Ms. Hyatt, great seeing you again. Here we have your certificate of recognition, and it states, the Bell Gardens City Council is honored to recognize Bell Gardens Elementary School fourth grade dual language teacher, Leslie Hyatt, for her outstanding service and dedication to the children of Bell Gardens. With 43 years of service in education, Ms. Hyatt has made a profound and lasting impact on her students. She goes beyond teaching the required curriculum by fostering hands-on learning, encouraging critical thinking, and guiding students to develop solutions to real-world challenges. The City Council extends its sincere gratitude for her lifelong commitment to education. Signed by Miguel de la Rosa, Mayor, and the rest of the City Council. Congratulations. I recall I visited your classroom along with some of my other colleagues as well, and it was amazing seeing you in your element, seeing how proactive and how your students are developing these critical thinking skills. And I remember they showed us the math behind the tree deficiency that we have here in the city of Bell Gardens. And these are real life issues, and I'm glad we're getting to them, right? And it's just amazing overall all the great impact you're doing in our children here in the city of Bell Gardens. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hyatt.
Can I say something? Can I say something? I just want to say I have been a teacher for 43 years, and every single classroom, from your little brother's classroom to all of them, kids want to do what's right. They want to right the wrongs in the world. They want to make the world a better place. And it's just us educators, and we need to support them. And so I just want to thank the city. The award really should be going to the city because you listen. You listen to little fourth graders, 10-year-olds that want to change the world. And I just really appreciate that. Bell Gardens is the greatest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hyatt. Now I'll open it up for my colleagues too.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Hyatt, for doing what you do for over 40 years. As you mentioned, you were my little brother's teacher. I just want to say you're just someone that's really cool. We're very happy to have you in our community. Y lo mejor es que también habla español. Y también que trae la camiseta del Golfo de México. Creí que le habían cambiado el nombre, pero no, todavía sigue siendo el Golfo de México. Ms. Hyatt, she sent me an email asking for help, and we connected her with some local nonprofit organizations to go out with the kids and teach them a few things and share their knowledge with them about the environment. But it's not every day that I have teachers reaching out for help, for additional help. So to see Ms. Hyatt doing a tremendous job in our schools is just heartwarming, and I really, really, truly appreciate all of your work over the years. Thank you so much, Ms. Hyatt.
As a fellow educator, I'm just in awe of your passion that you have. I know you reached out, we were able to collaborate, and in your honor and in the honor of your students, there's a tree at Veterans Park, the unicorn tree is what they named it. And so being able to collaborate with you and the students and continuing to foster those relationships, I really appreciate all your hard work. So thank you so much.
That's 43 years of building foundations, leaving impacts on people. I know I hold my teachers very close and dear to my heart. So I know you've done that on hundreds of little hearts. And I thank you for that because you're building the leaders of tomorrow. So that's phenomenal. Thank you.
Ms. Hyatt, where do I begin with this? I mean, words can't describe the impact you've had on our kids, on the future, literally the little humans, right? Little people, and I can imagine that feeling that you get when you see your students come back and sort of want to give back and maybe become teachers as well. Next thing you know, they're your colleagues, right? I want to give this recognition. I want to make sure that this gets noted that, teachers play an extremely vital role in the livelihood of a child when they're growing up, right? I mean, you probably spend more time, in some cases, more than their parents, right? Because their parents are working 2-3 jobs trying to make a living, or they're staying with their grandparents and so on and so forth. So I want to make sure you know that you as a teacher, the contributions that you made the past 4 decades to our community do not go unnoticed. And we really appreciate, your services, and we hope that, again, you continually mentor the rest of the other young teachers that are also coming into this profession. And just again, thank you for your service to our community and our kids.
I did want to, if I can interrupt for a moment, we do have a video presentation in honor of her certificate of recognition.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you, Ms. Hyatt, for being here. Just to give some background on the video that we're seeing, Ms. Hyatt reads a book with her class, and the theme of the book is about homelessness. And so she reached out to staff, and I believe this is, I don't know how many years, this is the second year in a row. She's brought her kids down to the CFSC, and they've helped the staff put together kits for the homeless, meals and food, boxes of food. So it's hands-on learning and understanding the resources that are available to the homeless population and what the city's doing to actively mitigate and provide services to the homeless. And so, Ms. Hyatt, we commend you and thank you for bringing them into the city and letting us be a part of the practical lessons that you're teaching your students. Thank you.
Amazing. Now let's take a group photo in the front. City Manager, will you please announce the next recognition?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. The next item is a certificate of recognition for the cutting and tailoring sewing class instructor, Ana Elena Cifuentes. If you could please come to the podium.
Felicidades a Ana Elena. Aquí le tengo su certificado. Se lo voy a leer en inglés, ¿ok? The Bell Garden City Council is honored to recognize Ana Elena Cifuentes for her outstanding dedication and service to the community. Her commitment to the community enrichment led to the first ever recycled fashion show and inspired the creation of the cutting and tailoring sewing class, which she has provided individuals with the skill and opportunity to learn, grow, and develop this valuable craft. We are thankful for her commitment to education, empowerment, and community engagement. Felicidades. Felicidades.
Buenas tardes. Me siento muy orgullosa de estar aquí, acompañada de mi esposo, mi hija y por supuesto de mis alumnos. Gracias a cada uno de los miembros del concilio. Liz Nava, que tuve mi primera entrevista con ella. Gracias, Liz. Ana Ábalos, quien cada día se encarga de proporcionar el material necesario para la clase, pero muy en especial Marco Bárcenas, Francis de León Sánchez y Jorgel, que ellos siempre se han preocupado por estar al pendiente de preguntarme de las necesidades de la clase y por darme la oportunidad de preparar a la comunidad deseosa de aprender en este pequeño taller de corte y confección, donde deseo enseñar e incentivar a personas a crear sus propias prendas. Espero cumplir con las expectativas y mil gracias por la confianza. Gracias.
Perfect. I'll now open it up for my colleagues to make any statements.
I guess I'll go first. Ana, muchas gracias por tomar esta responsabilidad de enseñar lo que es la costura aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens. Me da mucho gusto ver su programa crecer tan fuerte y con el apoyo del consejo y el apoyo, más importante que nada, el apoyo de los miembros de la comunidad. Su clase tiene lista de esperas, es tan popular, ha sido un trabajo crecerla porque se necesita mucha estructura, pero hemos llegado ahí gracias al apoyo también de los empleados de la ciudad. Me acuerdo del primer Recycled Fashion Show que tuvo. La vicealcaldesa Miss Guillen fue un juez en ese evento. También Councilmember Francis de Leon Sánchez was a judge. Entonces es un esfuerzo de comunidad lo que hemos visto de parte de usted y de su clase. Queremos seguir apoyando el arte aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens y yo sé que gracias a lo que usted está haciendo, nuestros residentes van a seguir apreciando y creciendo culturalmente aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens. La apreciamos mucho, espero que siga aquí trabajando duro y también muchas gracias a los empleados de la ciudad. I want to thank the Recreation and Community Services Department, Liz and Anna. I went to the graduation and it was really, it exceeded my expectations. What I saw was great. It was amazing. There was food, there was music, everything looked beautiful. So thank you so much for supporting our arts programs and I hope that you guys continue. I know that you just opened up a new class, right? An advanced class. Acaban de abrir una clase avanzada de costura, así que sigue creciendo. Excelente trabajo y muchas gracias por todo.
Sé que esta es más una de las clases que hace otras clases en la comunidad y otras cosas, pero viendo a sus estudiantes con sus vestuarios que que hicieron ellos mismos con su clase, me dio mucha emoción ver eso. Y también tantas personas que quieren tomar su clase. Le está dando algo a sus alumnos, a la comunidad para crecer más y más. Gracias por su tiempo, para la pasión, la paciencia y todo que tiene para todos. Gracias.
Ana Elena Cifuentes, muchas gracias por sus servicios a la comunidad, gracias por su tiempo, gracias por los consejos, por ser una guía a los papás en nuestra ciudad, porque yo veo este tipo de programa, este tipo de actividad por una forma de terapia para, a lo mejor para muchos padres que a lo mejor salen del trabajo, muchas mamás que están en la casa a lo mejor todo el día y pues pueden salir y participar y hacer una actividad que a lo mejor les recuerda cuando eran niñas, cuando estaban en las escuelas, allá la primaria, la secundaria, a lo mejor en otro país. Y pues le quiero agradecer por traer esa inspiración, por traer esa determinación para la ciudad, ese recurso. Y pues la verdad, y disculpe las palabras, pero le quiero agradecer por ser una chingona, porque la verdad yo la admiro su tiempo, admiro su paciencia, admiro las ganas, la pasión que usted tiene por eso. De nuevo le agradezco por su tiempo y de nuevo, y sé que mencionó, y nos mencionó como concejales, pero que todo el concilio estamos aquí para apoyarlos, lo que ocupen. Sé que hay una demanda para más clases. Vamos a hacer todo lo posible para que eso se haga más realidad. Y pues, que esto siga llevando no nomás aquí en Bell Gardens, pero que crezca y que sea una buena oportunidad para no nomás la ciudad, pero por todo el sureste de Los Ángeles. De nuevo, muchas gracias.
La felicito y gracias por compartir su talento con nuestra comunidad y que Dios la bendiga.
De nuevo, Ana Elena, felicidades de todo corazón. Es muy bonito cómo se une la comunidad a través de una actividad, ¿no? Una artesanía y esta actividad es muy única, ¿no? No la he visto en ninguna otra ciudad y eso habla mucho de la creatividad de uno, ¿no? De su creatividad, de su iniciativa y muy admirable, de todo corazón. Aquí estamos para apoyarlos y de nuevo, felicidades. Muchas gracias. Si gusta pasar hacia enfrente para tomarnos una.
We have a video for her as well. Or it's a little more photos if, I'm sorry, Mayor, if I may, just to give an idea. The photos outside are photos from her recycled fashion show where her students created the outfits they wore completely out of recycled materials that council helped us with judging, which was probably very difficult. And then the upper left-hand corner, the advanced students graduated last month, and we're really excited that this class is expanding. And so the advanced students will now be in what's called the expert class to continue to build precision in their skills. And we've opened up a brand new beginners class to welcome even more students. And we're moving the class over to the NYC as it is expanding. So we thank you, Ana Elena, for bringing this here. It's such a great success, and we're looking forward to seeing our next recycled fashion show at our coming spring event. Thank you.
Muy bien, antes que iniciemos a la segunda presentación, tenemos unos comentarios en estudiante.
Buenas tardes, miembro del concilio y a todos los presentes. Mi nombre es Elvira Ramírez y soy participante de la clase de corte y confección nivel intermedio. Yo sabía coser lo básico, pero con esta clase y lo aprendido me siento más segura en usar una máquina de coser. Y le doy gracias a la maestra Ana Elena por su paciencia y dedicación en compartirnos sus conocimientos. Por eso mismo les agradezco a todos ustedes por preocuparse por la comunidad de Bell Gardens y crear este tipo de programas para todos nosotros, ya que nos permitirá emprender nuestro propio negocio o simplemente sentirnos orgullosos de nosotros mismos. Les pido seguir apoyándonos para que esta clase siga creciendo como hasta ahorita. Asimismo, muchísimas gracias, maestra, y a todos ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. City Manager, will you please announce the next item?
Yes, thank you. So, Mayor, we had a scheduled Prime Store Shopping Center presentation, but due to scheduling and communication conflict, we're going to ask if we can bring that item at the next council meeting, which would move us over to number 5.5, which is a League of California Cities legislative update presentation. We have Mr. Nicholas Cabeza here to provide a presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Perfect. Hello, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. It's a pleasure to be here with you all on an exciting evening with all these certificates of recognition. Congrats again to all the recipients. Hopefully I can continue the excitement as we talk about state legislation and this state budget. So let's do that. But before we do that, I wanted to provide you a little bit more background on the League of California Cities as your regional public affairs manager. Our mission is to really expand and protect local control for cities through education and advocacy to enhance the quality of life for all Californians. We serve 473 cities. We have 57 board members, 16 regional divisions, 10 municipal departments ranging from mayors and council members to fiscal officers and police chiefs, and 5 diversity caucuses, including African American Caucus, Asian Pacific Islander Caucus, LGBTQ Caucus, Latino Caucus, and Women's Caucus. So if you're interested in being more involved in any of these, please let me know, and I'm happy to get you more connected. As you can see, we serve cities of all sizes, with the majority of our cities less than 50,000 in population size. In December, the League of California Cities Board of Directors adopted the organization's 2025-2026 advocacy priorities with a clear message to the state that cities are a smart and essential investment for a strong California. The 2025-2026 advocacy priorities are as follows: to protect and enhance local revenues and expand economic development tools. So this is all about safeguarding local revenue streams, opposing unfunded mandates, and pursuing new economic development tools that really bolster local economies. The next goal is to strengthen partnerships with the state to improve public safety. So this includes supporting sustained investments in police, fire services, and public works as a foundation to public safety, and really calling on the state to fully implement Proposition 36, which voters passed in 2024 to increase accountability for repeat theft and certain drug offenses. The next goal is securing investments to prevent and reduce homelessness and increase the supply of affordable housing. So this is all about bolstering the city's efforts to support unhoused residents while strengthening wraparound services. And we actually have a Cal Cities sponsored bill that I'm actually going to discuss a little bit later, and respectfully ask the City Council to take a support position on related to homelessness. So we'll come back to that. And then the last goal includes strengthening climate change resiliency and disaster preparedness. So this includes wildfires, drought, sea level rise, and other extreme weather events. So I wanted to provide an update on the bills that the city took a position on during last year's legislative session. So the first one being SB 569, which the city supported, and Councilmember Jorge Chavez was very involved in on behalf of the city and Cal Cities. So as a reminder, this measure would direct the Department of Transportation, also known as Caltrans, to establish a dedicated liaison to collaborate with local governments to facilitate the removal of homelessness encampments on Caltrans right-of-way. So this bill also authorizes Caltrans to negotiate specified terms for delegated maintenance agreements with local jurisdictions in which both work together to reduce and remove homeless encampments within the department's jurisdiction. So this bill is an active bill and is in the committee process. It's in the second year of the legislative session. And as you can see, Councilmember Jorge Chavez provided testimony on the bill last year during Senate Transportation Committee and served on a Cal Cities panel with the author of the bill, Senator Blake Spear. So thank you for your advocacy efforts on that. The next bill that I wanted to provide an update on that the city supported last legislative session was SB 456. And this is a measure that exempts muralists from having to obtain a contractor's license through the California State Licensing Board before being commissioned for public and private art projects. So this bill passed and was signed into law by the governor. So I'm super excited about that one. Another bill relating to water is SB 454, which would establish a statewide PFAS mitigation fund intended to help local water agencies, including cities, leverage funding to pay for cleanup of mandate PFAS contamination in drinking water and wastewater. So the city took a support position last legislative session, and the bill passed through the legislature without a single no vote, but unfortunately was vetoed by the governor. So in the governor's veto letter, the governor indicated that the bill is unnecessary because the California Environmental Protection Agency has conducted significant work in coordination with other government agencies on this issue, and establishing a new program would divert those resources. So we're hoping that our next governor will be more open to the idea around funding for public agencies to address this issue before we sponsor that concept again. So stay tuned on that one. And then the last bill that the city supported last legislative session was AB 650, which would allow local jurisdictions to begin the housing element update 6 months earlier than what is required under existing law, and ensure that local governments have adequate time to respond to the Department of Housing and Community Development's HCD review letters, and require HCD to provide written communication that identifies specific deficiencies in the draft and text or analysis that HCD believes needs to be included to comply with the law. So this bill also passed through the legislature without a single no vote and was unfortunately vetoed by the governor. In the governor's veto letter, the governor mentioned that he was concerned that the bill would inappropriately shift responsibility for preparing housing elements from local jurisdictions to HCD, and these duties would add at least $11 million in new annual costs. So we're working with the author to reintroduce this bill again this legislative session with a few minor changes, so stay tuned on that as well. Wanted to flag additional Cal City priorities bills that also passed, one of them being SB 79, which Cal City's opposed. And SB 79 is a measure that requires local agencies and urban transit counties beginning July 1st, 2026 to approve housing projects within half a mile of specific transit stops with limited or no environmental review and public engagement at a height of 5 to 9 stories with a density of 80 to 120 dwelling per acre. So this measure also grants transit agencies the ability to set development standards on land they own or on a parcel adjacent to a transit-oriented development stop. So this bill did pass. Senator Scott Wiener, who was the author of the bill, committed to a broader cleanup measure this legislative session, and Cal Cities will continue to advocate for additional legislative changes to help local governments implement SB 79. And what that looks like includes aligning the implementation date with the 7th Regional Housing Needs Assessment Cycle, requiring clear guidance and technical assistance from HCD, clarifying expectations related to affirmatively furthering fair housing, and then providing clear definition and standards for implementation. So we're still going to be engaged in the cleanup efforts related to this bill. Also wanted to bring to your attention 3 public safety bills that passed and were signed into law. One of them being AB 379, which is a measure that makes it a misdemeanor to loiter for the intent to purchase commercial sex, increases penalties for purchasing commercial sex from minors, and increases fines for businesses that facilitate prostitution and human trafficking. SB 19, which is a measure that creates a new crime of threatening to commit a crime that will result in great bodily injury at a daycare, school, university, workplace, house of worship, or medical facility. And then lastly, AB 468, which is a measure that increases penalties for looting in an evacuation zone. Before moving on to the state budget, I wanted to just make a quick ask to the City Council to support a Cal City sponsored bill that was just introduced by Assemblymember Solache within these past few days. That bill is AB 1708. And this bill, what it would do, would create new pathways for cities with populations under $300,000, or with under 300,000 to access existing state homelessness funding, also known as HAP funding. So since 2019, the HAP grant program has provided direct funding to cities with populations over 300,000 in all 58 counties and the continuum of cares across California. And for additional context, a COC, or continuum of care, it's a regional or local planning body that coordinates housing services funding for homeless families and individuals specific to the geographic needs of a region. This structure has left most cities without a consistent pathway to access this HAP funding, despite investing, significant general fund resources to prevent and reduce homelessness in their communities. So what this bill would do, AB 1708 by Assemblymember Solace, it would address this by creating a new opportunity for the 469 California cities with populations under 300,000 to apply for HAP funding through their COC. So specifically, AB 1708 would require COCs before allocating funding to other subrecipients in the region to accept applications for 30 days only from cities with populations under 300,000. So again, it's really designed to create a pathway for smaller cities to access this state funding that is so pivotal to address a wide range of issues here locally. So let's transition to the 2026-2027 state budget. But before we talk about the budget, just wanted to provide some context on the state, where it has been these last few years. In 2022, the state had a $90 billion surplus. In 2023, the state had a $31 billion deficit. 2024, the state had a $47 billion deficit. 2025, the state had an $18 billion deficit. The governor unveiled a $348.9 billion budget, projecting a 2.9 budget deficit while increasing the state's reserves to $23 billion. Ultimately, the governor's budget seeks to address the $2.9 billion deficit by really suspending a $2.8 billion true-up deposit into the state's budget stabilization account. So while this accounting maneuver may ease the fiscal pain this year, the proposed budget projects a $22 billion deficit for fiscal year 2027-2028 and shortfalls in the preceding 2 years. So just guaranteeing difficult decisions for the next governor. Wanted to also provide some context on just how the governor's proposed budget will impact cities. The governor's proposed January budget unfortunately does not include significant new investments to address homelessness, going back to that HAP funding again. The governor's proposed January budget does not include new funding for some of the most effective programs local governments have historically used to help promote affordable housing, including the Infill Infrastructure Grant Program, the Multifamily Housing Program, and the Low-Income Housing Tax Credits. And then the governor's proposed January budget does not provide any new funding for implementing Proposition 36. However, the governor's proposed January budget does include significant investments to wildfire resiliency and mitigation, with approximately $314 million proposed for various wildfire resiliency and fire prevention efforts from the 2024 climate bond. The governor's proposed January budget does include $17.6 million one-time from the state highway account to support transportation planning projects associated with the 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games, and also includes provisional language to allow Caltrans to spend up to $20 million from the SHA state highway account for Game Route Network's capital work. So just in terms of next steps, the legislature will convene its budget subcommittees to review the governor's proposed budget. Lawmakers must pass a balanced budget by June 15th. And the next big budget announcement will arrive in mid-May when Governor Gavin Newsom will unveil a new proposal based on the latest economic forecasts. And just rest assured that Cal Cities will work with the legislature and the governor, and as well as our member cities in the coming months to really advocate for a budget that prioritizes investments that accelerate affordable housing production, ensure people experiencing homelessness receive the support they need, strengthen local capacity to prepare for and respond to climate-driven disasters, and really fully fund that implementation of Proposition 36. And lastly, wanted to invite you all to attend our 2026 City Leaders Summit in Sacramento, which offers opportunities for city leaders from across the state to lobby lawmakers directly on various issues impacting cities. So with that, if you have any other questions, feel free to always contact me. If you ever want to get Cal City's perspective on a bill, feel free to always reach out. I know I'm in close communication with your city manager and your city management team on various policy issues. And the city has been a great partner in engaging on state legislation. So look forward to continuing that relationship as we move forward. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you so much, Nick. We really appreciate it because there's a lot of moving parts, and you know, it's always appreciated seeing you know, the pulse of these bills and where they're at and what occurred, right? I would also like to open the panel, to see if there are any questions or comments. No? Thank you so much, Nick.
Anytime you want an update on specific policy issues, happy to always come back. So feel free to reach out, and I look forward to working with you all as we move through the legislative session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. City Manager, will you please announce the next presentation?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. The next presentation that we have is one from LA County Fire Department. We have Assistant Chief Paul Stump here to provide an update to the City Council. We have a presentation to load as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening, Bell Garden City Council, city officials, and all support staff. It's an honor to be here tonight. What my intention was just kind of with starting the new year and being new to the position is to number one, introduce myself like City Manager said. My name is Paul Stump, Assistant Manager. I transitioned last year into the position. What me and my CSL, Herlinda Chico, really wanted to do was reintroduce all the programs that we have and make sure that you're aware of the programs that we have, rather than just seeing the big red engine going down the streets with its lights and sirens. Just a few slides. So next slide, if we could go to, please. You want me to do? Okay, our community commitment. I'm here tonight to share with you how the LA County Fire Department shows up for our communities, not just in emergencies, but every day through education, prevention, and youth development. Community engagement is a core strategy for building a safer, more resilient LA County, but we can't do it without your support and participation. We need everyone to be prepared. That means not just cities and schools, but also nonprofit groups and everyday residents. Public education programs. During Fire Prevention Month, we focus on raising awareness about home safety, smoke alarms, and wildfire readiness. Our crews visit schools, community centers, and local events to make sure families have the information they need. Our Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, is a 21-hour FEMA-approved training that prepares residents to help themselves and their neighbors during disasters. From basic first aid to light search and rescue, these volunteers become true force multipliers during major incidents. We also offer Sidewalk CPR, a quick hands-on only CPR training that empowers anyone to save a life. And our Ready, Set, Go program provides clear steps for evacuation planning and home hardening. This program helps families take action before a fire starts. Specialized community initiatives. We're also proud of several initiatives that meet the needs of our diverse communities, such as Sirens of Silence, which supports individuals with sensory sensitivities by helping families prepare for emergency interactions in a calm, informed way. Our Water Watch program focuses on drowning prevention, especially for younger children. A designated adult watcher can make the difference between a close call and a tragedy. And our Baby Safe Surrender offers a safe, confidential option for parents in crisis. This program has saved lives and provided hopes for families. Youth engagement and career pathways. We're deeply committed to inspiring the next generation of public safety leaders. Our Explorer program introduces teens to the fire service through hands-on training and mentorship. Girls Fire Camp. This gives young women the opportunity to experience firefighting skills in a supportive, empowering environment. Representation matters, and this program opens the doors. The Junior Lifeguard Program and Beach Safety Days teach water safety, physical fitness, and leadership. These programs build confidence and prepare youth for future careers in public service. Careers in the fire service. The fire service is more than fire engines and hoses. We are a modern, multidisciplinary organization with careers in many industries, such as aviation, where skilled pilots support the aerial firefighting mission, dispatch, where coordinating emergency communications takes place, Fleet services, where mechanics maintain our apparatus and equipment so we can do our daily job. And nursing, which is work side by side with firefighters to address medical emergencies. Call to action and get involved. We invite you to stay connected with us, visit our website, attend a community event, sign up for CERT or CPR training, or share our youth programs with families who might benefit. Our department is here for you, not just in emergencies, but as a partner in building safer, stronger communities. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to working together. If there's any questions, I can also answer them at this time.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Great work. Great ways of encouraging the youth to get involved and get to know their their fellow firefighters, and it's such a great way to connect with the people. No questions on my end. Questions from my colleagues, comments?
Just a very quick thank you for being here. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'll just close out. Just remind me, we're going to be holding the CERT class here in Bell Gardens this April, so we'll be promoting that, get that out, and would love to see everybody to attend there. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that information. I know that CERT was really important for us here in the city, and we had it once and we had a really high response. So the fact that you guys are having it again, I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Right. That concludes the presentation portion of today's meeting. We will now move over to public participation for items not listed on the agenda. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, will you please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person, and we actually did receive a public comment card.
Comment card for non-agenda items only. Edwin Gonzalez.
Good evening, everyone. I was here on one prior occasion for a council meeting last year during the summer, but on this particular occasion, I'm taking advantage of public comments to express my feelings regarding the recent developments in Bell Gardens and some of the neighboring cities. First of all, I thank everyone for the outpouring of love and prayers that so many in this community and other communities displayed after the terrible tragedy that killed 2 youngsters as a result of that explosion in late January. That level of compassion is so fundamental because it will guide us through these tumultuous times. That genuine solidarity is the most powerful element in creating great community leaders. Engaging in political discourse can be a valuable tool as long as we remember that the main objective of all human endeavors is to help one another, to support one another. So as this community grapples with the aftermath of that fatal incident in which a 13-year-old child and a 24-year-old man perished, we must all fulfill a critical role in order to overcome the economic and institutional challenges of our time. Specifically within the working class sector, the dilemma that parents are confronted with, being able to work, provide for their family, and still be able to supervise their children, or being able to spend quality time with family and loved ones is sometimes not an option for these immigrant communities who are often overworked and exploited. Then you have the financial burden that cities incur to fund their police and fire departments. In spite of budgets and or resources, the right leadership has to rise to the occasion. I'm a longtime resident of Bell, California, and that city banned fireworks right around 2018 or so. But in spite of prohibition, residents kept using fireworks, and obviously there were suppliers who were supplying the illegal fireworks. In recent times, the Bell Police has given fines to curtail such activity, and now that the ban is being enforced, which was not the case initially, they have resorted to some questionable tactics. Council, I could say more, but at this juncture, I must hand this meeting back over to you. Ustedes tienen otras cosas que atender, pero sí les agradezco por haberme escuchado. Con su permiso.
Thank you so much, Edwin. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I will now close public participation for non-agenda items. City Clerk, will you please announce the instructions for public participation for items listed on the agenda?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to speak may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to speak by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present, and we did not receive any written communication.
Thank you so much. I did get a public comment for agenda item that is on the agenda, and this is for Richard Jarman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council and staff. My name is Richard Jarman. I'm the pastor of Touchpoint Church, which has been serving Bell Gardens for the last 88 years. Before there was an actual Bell Gardens, we were here. And I'm here tonight to speak about the automated license plate readers, which I understand the contract is set for renewal tonight. And I wanted to speak out against renewing this contract. The automated license plate readers are an unneeded and unwanted invasion of the privacy of every resident of this city. Well over 90% of the license plates that are captured by these readers, they're never used in criminal cases. They're never used in any kind of in anything, really. But they can be used to track where people are, where they're going, what they're doing. And especially in a time like this, where so much of our activity is being tracked and by people and organizations and systems that do not have the best interests of our community at heart. This is not the time for another tool of surveillance for the people of Bell Gardens. And I want to urge you to not renew this contract. It's not necessary. It's not needed. When I was here last time speaking about this issue, the same case where somebody who had committed a crime was captured and they had come through Bell Gardens and their license plate was captured by one of these readers. That same case was mentioned at least 5 or 6 times by different people saying, look, this is why we need this. Well, what that tells me is that's the only example of this actually working. But yet, we have, it was admitted last time that this was being talked about, that over 200 agencies potentially have access to this information. And it's dangerous, it's not needed, and your main job is to keep the people of the city safe. And I hope that you will do that by not renewing this contract. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I will now close public participation. Moving on to committee updates. Does any member of the council wish to share any report from their committees?
I have a update from the JPA. So if you guys have read your emails, you're aware that the AG ended up submitting, I'm trying to use my words cautiously because I'm utterly upset what the AG did to us. So, December 23rd, the AG submitted the final rules to the OAL and did it in a way where it was non-transparent, not lawful, and it has a tremendous negative impact on our communities. Being part of the JPA, we have several other cities like Commerce, Compton, Hawaiian Gardens, who this is going to impact tremendously. So we as a JPA and some of the other card rooms have submitted letters against what has happened. Unfortunately, we got word today that the final rules that he had submitted for the blackjack style and the player deal draft rules were finalized and will go into effect April 1st. What does that mean? That means that our card rooms are going to have to change the way that they do gaming. That means that our card rooms are going to have a tremendous decline in revenue, therefore a tremendous decline to us as a city. I am utterly upset regarding this. We will continue to fight against this. We will have a meeting this Wednesday, a special meeting with the JPA, followed by next week. We are going up to Sacramento to talk to our legislators to get support from them because the way that the AG has handled this is unlawful at this point. And I need the state to answer to see what they're going to do. Because if any other agency had submitted rules the way that he did, they would do a counterattack. So that's the update regarding that.
Thank you for the update. Any other updates?
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, thank you so much for that update, Dr. Francilon Sanchez. If there's anything we can do, on our behalf of the city to support, maybe through the, I know you're involved with the COG or any other boards, right? We just had Cal Cities here present. Know that we're going to do everything we can to make sure that, we can put pressure, for on behalf of our city. Thank you.
There's no other update. I will now move on to City Manager's report. City Manager, will you please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. Just covering back the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot that's gone on. On Tuesday, January 27th, right after the last city council meeting, the police department had a neighborhood watch area meeting at Marlowe Park. Also that same night, sadly, there was a tragedy over on Purdy. It's been referenced at least on two different presentations or comments today. So just want to, first off, from the staff perspective, give condolences to the family for the loss of life. Also say thank you to the first responders, Bell Gardens Police Department, the county fire station right up the street, county sheriff, American Red Cross, and then staff from police department, recreation community services, community development, public works, for the scene processing, assisting the residents that were displaced, and then working towards getting that housing back online. That housing is pretty affordable housing relative to the size of the housing that's available. So there's work going on with the property owner to get that up to speed. And then the following day, on Wednesday, the police department had a business watch meeting here at City Hall. There were about 25 participants or so at that meeting, so very interesting to hear their perspective. We had our resident art and yard sale, which we have every Friday at 11 a.m. at Veterans Park. Every Thursday, we have our art space at Veterans Park at 6 p.m. This coming February, or just prior, February 6th, last Friday, we had the free farmers market that we have twice a month at the art and yard sale. So if you have a chance, anybody listening, go to the art and yard sale on a Friday. Every other Friday, generally, we have a free farmers market as well as the art and yard sale. This February 13th, there's a special pre-resident art and yard sale at 10 a.m. There's going to be a Valentine's Day craft fair for residents to be able to sell, and anybody to be able to buy homemade Valentine's items. And that'll be this Friday. Next Monday, the 16th, City Hall will be closed. The city offices will be closed, but obviously we have 24/7 operations in many of our departments. Those will still be running. The next free farmers market is on Friday, February 20th. And on Saturday, February 21st, we have our monthly family food program. So there's plenty of opportunity to get free, nutritious food. Also want to mention that tonight's consent agenda includes several items of interest. It's a smaller consent agenda than we've had the last few meetings. It includes a repair and maintenance of the fire suppression system at our police department. Also pursuant to Government Code Sections 53262 and 54956B, we're amending our city attorney contract to increase the hourly rates by approximately 5.8% and adding some additional defined legal services. We also have an amendment to our CDBG administration agreement with MNS Engineers. They were also doing our labor compliance activities out at the Aquatic Center during the construction phase as well. So with that, I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. We will now move over to consent calendar. Does any member of the City Council wish to pull an item for separate discussion? Not, may I have a motion for the approval of items numbers 10.1 through 10.6 of the consent calendar?
Move to approve 10.1 to 10.6.
I'll second.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you, members of the council and successor agency. Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
City Manager, will you please announce discussion items 11.1?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. This item is the local commissions item that we have every council meeting. Staff's recommendation, council review the appointments list and by motion remove commissioners and or make appointments to the posted vacancies. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. No updates on my end. All right. Moving on to the next discussion item. City Manager, will you please announce it?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. As mentioned in the public comment by Pastor Jarman, this is a consideration of option of a one-year extension of an agreement with Flock Group for the automated license plate readers. Without going into more detail, I'll turn it over to our police chief, Paul Camacho, to queue up the presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. Tonight, we're going to have Lieutenant John Acosta, who's going to be doing the presentation. We also have Travis on standby. He's going to be the Flock representative. And then we also have Lieutenant Frank Garcia, who oversees our Flock system within the department. And I will be available for any questions as well. So I'm going to go ahead and have Lieutenant Acosta come up here.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for having us here. So as the chief mentioned, I'll be making a brief presentation on our Flock safety ALPR agreement that's up for renewal. So with that said, we'll get right into it. So the purpose of the presentation is to provide city council with the options regarding the flock safety LPR agreement. Review the background, fiscal impact, and the policy consideration, and then request council direction. So the background on LPR technology. So the automated license plate reader system assists with locating stolen vehicles. It supports our officers and investigators with vehicle-related crimes. Flock safety ALPR system. So currently in our city, we have 23 fixed cameras placed throughout in key ingress and egress points in the city. The cameras capture license plates, vehicle characteristics, and those photos or pictures provide a date and time location stamp. One key thing to note is that the cameras do not use facial recognition or any biometric identification. So our current agreement overview. So we're on our third year of our 3-year agreement. Originally, this agreement was approved back in February of 2023. The agreement term that we're currently on is from March 1st, 2023 to February 28th, 2026. We have two 1-year extension options, and the cost per year is $57,500 per year. So option 1, which we currently have now, is a 1-year extension with limited access. By choosing this option, we'll maintain current limited access with data sharing settings that we have now in place. It would continue to provide community continuity of service, and then it allows additional time for evaluation and policy review. Option 2 is also a 1-year extension, and that would provide the police department with full access. It would restore access and data sharing with authorized law enforcement partners in the state of California. It would enhance regional investigative collaboration, and the cost, it would be the same cost and contract terms as we're currently on now. Option 3 would be to terminate the agreement effective February 28th, 2026. At that point, all ALPR cameras would be removed and deactivated. And at that point, it would discontinue any data collection or access by the police department. So fiscal impact, as mentioned, option 1 and 2 is a 1-year extension, and the cost is $57,500 per year. Option 3 would carry a $11,500 termination fee. Once the cameras are removed and everything is said and done, there would be a credit balance owed of approximately $1,800 to the city. So that covers the fiscal impact. Considerations for council. So public safety and investigative benefits for the police department. The program would allow us to continue our officers, provide safety for our officers, our community, and continue to help us continue to investigate crimes in the city. Data access and sharing policies, and then it will give you guys the fiscal impact and long-term strategy for this program. So requested council direction. So at this point, it'd be extending the contract with limited access, extending the contract and giving the police department full access as we had before, or directing the city manager to terminate the agreement effective March 28th, as I mentioned. I'm sorry, February 28th, as mentioned before. So the LPR program beneficial considerations. So supports investigations involving stolen vehicles and violent crimes. Provides citywide vehicle ingress and egress coverage. As I mentioned before, one key point is that it does not, there's no biometric system, no facial recognition technology with this program. And has situational awareness for our officers and investigative efficiency for our detectives. It would assist with regional law enforcement collaboration, and then the cost is predictable and budgeted under existing agreement. Community concerns regarding privacy and data sharing, as you heard earlier this evening. And then comparison, extending or canceling the agreement. So if we extend the agreement, we would continue to use the 23 cameras that are in the city now. It would assist us with ongoing investigative and crime prevention support. It would maintain current and expanded data sharing options. There'd be no interruption to the police department. The cost would remain the same of $57,500 per year, and then it allows additional time for evaluation and policy review. If we cancel the agreement, the LPR cameras will be removed and deactivated. We'll lose all LPR data, and we'll no longer be able to use it for our investigations. It eliminates future lease costs. There is going to be that one-time termination fee of $11,500. We would receive a credit of about $1,800 once we're done, and reduced technology support for vehicle-related crimes. That concludes, yes. So there are, just to give you guys a little background, so within Flock, there's some safety features, and it's split up in 5 rules or categories. So there's an admin category, there's a command staff category. Let me back up. So admin, the category is there's only one user, which is Lieutenant Frank Garcia. He oversees the Flock program. Command staff consists of lieutenants. That's administrative lieutenant, patrol lieutenants, the captain, and the chief. And then detectives. That's their next category is detectives. That's our special investigations unit, and then our general investigations unit as well. And then we have our dispatch center. And then the 5th option, or the 5th rule or category, is our patrol officers. Some of the safety features, and I'm sure Trevor's going to cover them as well. Pursuant to Government Code 7284, we do not share any information or data with for immigration purposes with anyone. That's a key thing to note. When an officer or detective, it's going to be detectives in our general investigations and special investigations units. When they're conducting an investigation, the system will ask the detective to provide an incident type or offense type, the crime that they're investigating, and a case number that's pulled from dispatch records. So it gives them a reason why we're looking. It's not just for no reason. There has to be a crime, and then there's a case number. Without that information, you can move forward, right? So that's one safety feature that there is there now. And as far as sharing, as of right now, the department does not share any data with any other agency locally or out of state. That concludes that brief presentation. If there's any questions that I can answer, or any one of us.
Thank you, Lieutenant Acosta, for the presentation. Just right now, you mentioned that there are 5 tiers in the Flock, end user interface. What is the difference between each tier? For example, you mentioned you have the admin, then command staff, detectives, dispatch, and ultimately patrol officers. So is there any difference in the way the technology could be used in each tier?
There is a difference. So as I mentioned before, Lieutenant Frank Garcia, he's in charge of the whole program. He's allowed to give different capabilities to the 4 other categories, which is the command staff, detectives, dispatch, and patrol. So patrol officers and patrol sergeants only have access to receive information. So if another agency does enter a vehicle into the system, then they just receive it, but they're not able to access the information, or they're not able to look for information. They just receive it, get dispatched, and investigate at that point. Dispatchers are in the same category as far as detectives. So our special investigations detectives and our general special investigations detectives are able to search with a case number. They're able to search outside to see what other agencies have entered into the system. They have that access, and command staff has that access as well.
Thank you so much for clarifying. And this question is open to the chief, Lieutenant Garcia, Lieutenant Acosta. Since we implemented that change last year, what has been the experience from the departments and with working with limited, data sharing capabilities?
Yes, so one of the things that I've been hearing from the detectives is that because they don't have full access, and I'll give you an example. Not too long ago, we had a suspect that was involved in, pretty much raping two minors. We had the information from the type of vehicles that he owned, and unfortunately, we were not able to track that vehicle to other cities because we have the function that doesn't allow other agencies to see any of our stuff. So we're not sharing, in other words. So we were unable to track that vehicle where it was because that agency had taken us off their list. So it made the investigation a little bit challenging. It wasn't until we actually entered that vehicle through another system that agency provided through their flock system and gave us the information that that vehicle was in their city. Now, if we would have had the full access, we would have been able to track that vehicle wherever it went. If it went through Downey, if it went through other cities, we would have known that because that's the ability that we have.
Our ability to capture a suspect with in a short period of time. On that case, that particular case that the chief's talking about, it would have helped out. It would have helped out. Lucky for us, it did work out for us with the assistance of other agencies. One key thing to note is that by not sharing our information with other agencies, and as the chief mentioned, then other agencies are not so willing to share their information with us. So again, it limits us.
Thank you. So, in a sense, it's mutual, right? It goes both ways. So since data is not being shared on our end, the other agencies are not sharing their data with our agency.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my questions for now.
What do you say that even though we're not sharing our data with other agencies, it's still beneficial to have the flock system currently how we have it with our 23 cameras?
Yes, it's definitely beneficial. It's still a tool, a good investigative tool for our officers and detectives. It's limited, but it's better than not having it.
I would agree. And if Trevor, you're listening, if you could just add a little bit more to that.
Yes, Mayor and Council, my name is Trevor Chandler. I am the Director of Public Affairs for Flock Safety. Happy to answer any technological questions that you might have as well. But yes, I'm based here in San Francisco, and we definitely find that the tool itself is useful even under its most restricted capacity. And the more you do share, particularly with your surrounding communities, because we all know that crime doesn't stop at a border. We do find that there are more solved cases, more solved stories, especially as it relates to organized retail crime. It's one of the reasons you have San Francisco who shares with Oakland because of the nature of the cross-border relationship of crime between the two cities. So we have definitely seen success even in a very closed, restricted environment. But the more, particularly regionally, we see municipalities sharing, there's much more opportunities for identifying bad actors who might be doing regional crime.
I have a question for staff here. I know there's a termination fee, 11,500. So that will get offset. It will get offset by the 13,329 credit. So then net will be $1,820. So we're basically getting $1,000, $827.
After-
Okay, got it. I
Yes.
just wanted to clarify that. I wasn't sure if we would still be, getting a fee. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions?
Yes, this question is directed to Trevor. Trevor, so
Yes.
I was looking at the transparency portals from our local agencies, and that includes Bell, Downey, and it states that these agencies are still sharing data with Bell Gardens Police Department. Could you explain more so how this works again? Because from our understanding, right, it's mutual, right? Like for example, if we don't share the data, then they're not sharing the data with us. So just some insight and clarification on that, please.
For sure. So sharing a relationship is not always mutual. So your agency has the ability to request to see other agencies' data and search that data without having that mutual sharing agreement. As your chief stated, that can, other departments may not want that sort of relationship. And so it can at times limit that. There's some folks who say like, hey, if you want to access ours, we need to access yours. But in some cases, as may be the cases that you're referring to, it could be that it is a one-way sharing relationship. So it doesn't have to be mutual, but by saying we want to look at yours, but you can't look at ours, it traditionally, anecdotally, does limit the number of agencies that would want to be in that one-way sort of relationship.
Thank you, Trevor. And when it comes to requesting information from another agency, how does that look like? Could you walk us through the process? Is there a form, a submission? And then on our end, we would have to grant them access as time allows, or how does this work?
So you can do it as often or as little for as long or as short as your department would like. Your administrator has the ability to accept. So you can in some cases, if you know you're not going to share, you can just turn off invitations to share, or you could just look at it on a case-by-case basis, kind of like a friend request. You can say, oh, the city of El Cerrito has requested a sharing relationship with you, and your administrator, according to your city's laws and regulations, can make that determination as to whether or not to accept that, or to potentially say, well, we want to do this, but it has to be one way. Like, so we can look at yours, but you can't look at ours. But there's a section in the back end that your administrator sees of all the requests for sharing. You can do this for a short period of time. You could hypothetically grant access temporarily for maybe 48 hours if you'd like, and then you can shut it off. It is purely at the discretion of your department of who to share with.
Thank you, Trevor. So in theory, going back to the 5 tiers, it would be the top 3 that would be able to grant access, correct?
Anyone with administrator access would be able to accept.
So to clarify, that would just be Lieutenant Acosta or
It would be Lieutenant Frank Garcia.
Frank Garcia?
He's our department administrator.
Okay. So it would only be that user.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you. That concludes my questions for now.
I actually
Thank
have
you,
a
Mayor.
question for clarification. So the mayor stated that you saw the portal from Bell and that it was sharing data with Bell Gardens.
Correct. Bell, Downey, Beverly Hills. Yeah, most of these agencies are still sharing data with City of Bell Gardens.
And then the response for that, the clarification will be that those particular cities specifically decided to share data with us, even though we're not sharing data with them? Is that what the
That's correct.
response was?
Yes.
Okay, were you guys aware at any point, or did you request for data to be shared?
No, we didn't request anything, but they decided to keep us without us sharing anything with them.
Okay. Okay, thank you for clarification.
And please, do not attempt to leave after the next few days.
Just glancing at our transparency portal, it states that we have 4,535 hits in the last 30 days. Of course, there's that factor, right, that there might be misreadings and such, but approximately, like, what would be the distribution of like crimes related to these hits? Like, would it be thefts or just a rough number?
The way it works is it's anytime there's a stolen vehicle, right? A vehicle used on a crime, a felony vehicle, right, that's been entered by another agency. So anytime any of those vehicles hit one of our cameras at any ingress or egress from the city, we get the notification. Now that also includes misreads. There are numerous misreads that we get, which are verified by our dispatch center before they're dispatched out to our police officers. So that happens a lot. But it varies. It varies. So that number was from how long?
It's from the last 30 days.
30 days. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to say it's accurate. I mean, it's every day that there's cars going in and out of here every day, and there's multiple hits a day. There's days where we have, we recover several stolen vehicles a day, a weekend. It varies.
And Mayor, just to add in, that could also include multiple hits on the same vehicle. So if a vehicle is on a hot list and it passes by multiple cameras, it may be resulting in multiple numbers of those hits. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a total of 4,000 plus individual wanted vehicles. So it could be a bit higher than the actual number of total vehicles.
Thank you for clarifying that, because in theory, with the 24 cameras we have, they're always facing as they're exiting the city, correct?
That are coming into the city and some exiting the city as well.
Just another question. Out of all these hits, how does the police department decide which hit to pursue or which one to hold back on? Of course, these, given that our city is only like 2 miles in distance, right, from one end to the other, of course, time is of the essence, right? As they're navigating through the city, but how does the police department decide, which vehicle they're going to go after?
A lot of variables with that, right? It depends on how busy and how our staff looks like any given day. If our officers are busy on a call, there could be a stolen vehicle going through the city and we just can't get to it. We hope that the next city is able to pick it up, right? There are times where we're busy and now there's a felony vehicle that just came into the city. Depending on the type of crime, then we might break off a couple officers to go assist in trying to find that vehicle. There's times where we have cars that we've been looking for that are in our city used in our crimes, then that kind of escalates things as well, right? So it varies. It depends. Just because the car goes through our city and it has a want attached to it doesn't mean that we're going to go automatically going after it, right? And at that point, it also depends on the sergeant and lieutenant who are in charge at that given moment.
Thank you. Now, I have a question for Trevor, and this one is more so on the Flock technology and relations. And specifically, this is about Flock safety collaborating with Ring. I've seen headlines of this partnership, and just out of just curiosity, how does this collaboration work? Is it primarily used between police departments and users from Ring? Yeah, I'm curious to see how this dynamic looks and in terms of public safety.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that question, Mayor. So the Ring partnership is for a completely separate product that Flock has called Nova. So it doesn't apply here to the city of Bell Gardens. But how it does work is it's purely opt-in by the Ring user. And so what Nova does is it aggregates and compiles vast amount of law enforcement information onto one screen. So And I can give you a real life example. San Francisco didn't have Nova at this time, but there was a murder a block away from me, and I have a Ring camera. And if I so chose, I could opt in for the police to request my camera footage from a certain time and location. And so what this product does is say, hey, there's Nova will show the law enforcement there's this many Ring cameras through this integration with Ring. Opt-in, again, fully opt-in. It's not switched on. You have to opt into it. And they could have requested my video cameras from that time. And if I had opted in, as I personally probably would, they could have accessed that or requested to access that. In my case, the shooter actually hid out under our stairs, and so it would have been very useful to the law enforcement officers to get that as soon as possible. Instead, what they did in this case was they went door to door in the neighborhood saying, hey, this happened. Can you show us your Ring camera? We looked through my phone on the Ring camera. We saw it. Really shocking. Sent it to them, and they use that as evidence. In this case, they could have, if I had opted into the system, requested that video and found it themselves without having to walk door to door to find that evidence.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And to clarify that again, it's another product called Nova, and the city of Bell Gardens is currently not a user of that product.
That is correct.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments from my colleagues?
I do have some comments here. So I want to thank the mayor, first of all, because when we brought this item a few months ago before the contract ended, he came up with a last minute effort to protect our residents, our vulnerable immigrant communities, by reducing the amount of eyes that go on this data, the sharing of this data. However, we have seen since then an increased number of problems emerging. These problems are not only anecdotal, but they're also reported by reputable agencies such as the ACLU. And to summarize things, I think that we need to stop this surveillance contract ASAP. Our communities are vulnerable and at risk. This mass surveillance is a privacy invasion for our residents, especially in Bell Gardens, where we have residents that are undocumented. A lot of them are undocumented. They're very scared, and this is not the right time to ramp up and continue this mass surveillance program. ALPRs record everyone's location over time, creating a detailed travel history of innocent drivers. Experts say that this can reveal sensitive details about your life, for example, your worship, work, and healthcare. This is according to the ACLU of Southern California. Now, there's also little oversight and warrantless access. Reports show that ALPR data is stored, shared, and reached without warrants, transparency, or strong rules. That's an increase in the risk of abuse, and that's reported by the ACLU of Iowa. Another problem is that data sharing harms vulnerable groups. The ACLU of Connecticut warns that ALPR location data can be sent across states to federal agencies, including immigration enforcement, potentially used against immigrants, also LGBTQ+ people, or those seeking reproductive care. Again, this has been reported by the ACLU of Connecticut. Now, there is a real risk of misuse and also constitutional challenges. Civil liberties lawsuits challenge warrantless tracking and misuse of ALPR data as threats to privacy and civil rights. That is directly from the ACLU website. This is a problem for our community more than anything right now, when we have people being kidnapped from our streets, people being tracked in various different ways. And I've heard the argument that, oh, they're already tracking our phones. They're already looking at us through other means and methods. And that is something that I think is cynical and nihilistic. And we need to make sure that we protect our residents in this crucial moment. We need to make sure that we eliminate any type of exposure of our data, because this data is actually being collected by servers and it's being managed directly by these companies and corporations that are there for profit. They're not there to protect our communities. The people that have been elected to protect our communities is us, the council of the city of Bell Gardens. It's also our responsibility to make sure that our police officers are conducting business in an ethical manner. And I think that these tools expose our community and provide a loophole in which this can be exploited for a scary, scary outcome, which is having people be targeted in our communities and disappeared from our community, literally snatched from the streets. So I highly encourage our council to not underestimate the real threats that have been highlighted by the ACLU in continuing business with this type of technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bárcena, for your statement and as well for the plethora of information that you've shared, which involves precedents that have occurred in the past. And data was touched upon, and that's very important. And within our department, who would be the individual who audits our system internally? Would that be the admin, or would that be a combination of all tiers? Or
It would be ultimately it would be the admin role, and then also assisted by the command staff as well, and then with the assistance of Flock.
by any chance, do we know the frequency in which audits are performed within our department?
Mayor, if I could just have Trevor talk a little bit about some of the new features that are coming in within how they have realized some of the concerns from the community. Trevor, if you could touch on some of the things that you guys are going to be allowing us to kind of do the audits moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So important to note that audit records are permanent. While the data is deleted after 30 days by default, all searches are recorded permanently for audits. Second, we've heard concerns from municipalities and agencies about some fields potentially not being filled out. Maybe it's the search reason or the case number, which you can mandate have to be filled out. To address some of these concerns about making sure there is at least an accurate representation of what is being searched for, we recently introduced a mandatory code. They're called NIBRS code, NIBRS. These are codes created by the FBI of the most common crimes across the country. So in order to search for any agency, this is mandatory on the Flock system, you have to choose one of these NIBRS codes. So think auto theft, burglary, kidnapping, any number of these. And then you have to put in either the case number, the search reason, or both if you mandate both. And so that way, when you audit, you can see, okay, well, the NIBRS code that was put in was for shoplifting, but the reason this officer put in was for jaywalking. So that's a cause for concern in an audit that you can then identify and look into after it's done. So it allows for that consistency. It also allows for better reporting. I know, Mayor, you asked, like, well, how many of these are for certain reasons? That will now allow your department to easily compile that data for you all, saying this many searches were for burglary, this many searches were for auto theft, and allow for better reporting that way. Additionally, we heard concerns like, listen, of course, we want to audit our data. Some people, some agencies do it 4 times a year. Some agencies do it every month. But what we heard very clearly that some folks said, we don't want to have to wait until we audit to see if there's misuse. We want to be alerted as soon as possible. So in the next month or two, we're going to be rolling out proactive auditing. It's not comprehensive, so it's not a replacement for regular audits, but it will help flag for administrators if certain certain red flags that they should at least look into because it may or may not be a misuse. Things like if an officer is doing a lot of searches in non-work hours, could be a flag. If they're searching for the same license plate over and over and over again, certain things like that will provide a proactive red flag for your administrator to say, to reach out to that user and say, this looks wrong. This NIBRS code isn't matching with the description, the reason you gave. Can you explain that? And it could help identify potential misuse. In most cases, it's just accidents, but it's a good way of making sure that officers know that their use is being monitored, that this is something that is looked at, and we're continuing to try to innovate to make our audits, the audits that are able to be pulled through Flock, as transparent and accessible and proactive as possible.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, comments from my fellow colleagues?
Thank you. I just want to thank you for the data that you presented, but I do want to share to take a look at our track record. Our track record has been something of protecting our residents. Our department has also shown track record of being respectful, of being productive with what has been the tool that has been given to them. So I do invite you to look at the track record of all agencies involved. And us as a council, we have done these decisions, we've made them in efforts to protect our community. So take it back to the people. I invite you to do that.
Thank you, Council Member. I'm sorry, Vice Mayor. I appreciate the sentiment, and I'm very grateful for all the work that the police department does. However, I do want to point out when I raise these issues are not pertaining to our police department. Our police department tries to do a great job here. They work following the rules. However, the track record of other agencies that go beyond our police department is where the problem lies, right? And also with the corporations that provide the access. I mean, we're literally right now having people being snatched off our streets, and it is not the fault of our police department, right? We all know whose fault it is. We know who is directing these efforts, and we know that they have the power to grab data and demand data from whoever they want, whenever they want. And this is not a hypothetical. This is what we continue to see, not only through the cases that are exposed in court. For example, the entire section on the ACLU website is filled with examples in which civil liberties and also constitutional rights have been violated, right? So this is by no means an attack on our police department. And I appreciate your sentiment. I must agree with you. I highly respect our departments here in the city and the work that they do. But we have to acknowledge that this goes beyond our city. And because of that detail, we have no control other than to restrict and prohibit the use of that technology, which is what's collecting the data. And again, everything sounds great on paper. Everything sounds great in the way that it's presented. But the reality is that there is an administrator, there's like they say, a root user of the system, which means that they are able to do with that data whatever they want. And there is no accountability, as we have seen with previous cases that have made it to court. So I want to make sure that you guys understand my angle, my perspective. And look, if things change in the future, if we find ourselves getting our democracy back, if we find ourselves feeling like our community is doing better, that civil liberties are restored, that our constitutional rights are not being violated, then I'm more than happy to continue to explore tools that will help our community be safe, right? Because this tool here is like God mode. It's like a miracle come true, but there is two edges to that sword. And we need to make sure that in crucial times like this, when our democracy is completely being shattered, that we do what it takes, whatever it takes to protect our communities. And again, that's my response. And I totally understand, Vice Mayor, where you're coming from. And I just wanted to clarify that this isn't about the city of Bell Gardens, the law enforcement here, our police officers. this is beyond, this is what's happening at a national level. And I want us to make sure that we don't ignore where we're at in history, because this is a crucial moment to protect our communities to the best of our abilities as council members.
Thank you so much, everyone, for their input. I have a question for Trevor again. Has there been any new way to mitigate unwarranted searches that are within or outside of the use policy of the flock? For example, every time a user conducts a search, what has Flock been proactively doing to address this rising trend of using the technology for wrongful and honestly harmful uses?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question, Mayor. So a couple of things. First, to ensure compliance with California state law regarding immigration and reproductive health care, Flock has cut off all access between California state agencies and any agency outside of the state. So that previously we had provided all the tools for agencies to be compliant with state and local laws. What we heard overwhelmingly from law enforcement agencies is they just wanted us to make them compliant. So what we did was put a firewall between California and the rest of the country to maintain compliance with the California state law in that regard. And so additionally, what we have done is put in proactively search terms, prohibited search terms relating to immigration and reproductive health. Now, this is more, I can't go into the full details of exactly what that is because we obviously don't want to provide a roadmap for how to get around them, but I can say it does include things like misspellings, all of that to have a comprehensive search. So if someone puts in something in relation to that, it simply will not return a result. And it's also the transparency aspect is also one of the most important aspects of this. I speak to a lot of city councils in person and via Zoom across the country. I regularly say this even in front of folks that aren't as big fans of license plate readers, but I say, name a more transparent piece of law enforcement technology. And no one has been able to name a more transparent piece of law enforcement technology than Flock because of the transparency portals, because of the audits, because of the mandatory search term, NIBRS code, auditing functions. This is the most transparent piece of law enforcement technology. You can, we put in place significant guardrails, safeguards, firewalls. Of course, there's no 100% solution to fix misuse. And there are examples of that, as was stated, in certain isolated parts of the country. But it's also important to note there's a reason that people know about those instances. It's because of the transparency tools that those instances were able to be caught, identified, and the people who misuse the tool to be held accountable according to the laws in their state and localities. It's one of the things that Flock sometimes gets a little extra heat over. There's some companies that may say, you know what, there'll be a lot less uncomfortable conversations if there isn't this level of transparency. But because of the level of transparency that's built into the tool, not by accident, but on purpose, it results in these very sometimes uncomfortable conversations about who should we share data with? Does this state or does this other city have the same values that we have? Do we have that level of trust there? So we're going to continue to innovate, especially with these proactive auditing tools. We're going to continue to put in stronger safeguards, provide the agencies that use us with additional tools to maintain compliance and even go above compliance as necessary. But even with all those, if there is a piece of misuse that's there, the auditing and compliance tools that we put in there are second to none. So if it does happen, you'll be able to identify it efficiently and quickly and hold any potential misuse accountable according to your laws.
Thank you. Um,
I have a couple of questions, Mayor, if I may. Thank you for that information. This can go out to any one of you guys that is able to answer, whether it's RFPD or you, Trevor. I know that we have the transparency portal. How often is that portal updated?
The portal is updated, I believe hourly, but at the very least daily.
Perfect, thank you. With that transparency portal specifically to Bell Gardens, and when you guys have done an audit, maybe let's talk about the last audit that was done here in Bell Gardens. Was there any unauthorized data access? And if there was, how many hits were there?
Defer that to the chief.
So I wouldn't be able to tell you the last time we did an audit. But there was, one of the things that we learned is that the system wasn't really allowing us to do the audits like the new feature is going to be coming up here. Excuse me. But Lieutenant Garcia oversees those 5 groups that he was talking about. And so within those 5 groups, we haven't had any, we'll say red flags, or we haven't had any, behavior that we would already say that we have to look into. Everything has been within, the report number or an investigation that leads to that.
And I guess this is going to be for you, Lieutenant Garcia, because you're the one that oversees the system. With all the data usage safeguards that are currently implemented and with the ones that they are going to add, can you see any potential unauthorized use, or do you see the way we currently have our system with it's only sharing its data within Bell Gardens, not with any other agencies? Other agencies may be sharing with us, but do you see it harming it in any way, like as far as like the concerns that the residents may have regarding data breaches or being able to get our data shared with others?
First of all, I'd like to apologize for my attire. I just got back from some
It's
training.
hard
The
play.
chief needed us to show up, so we got here as soon as we could. So I apologize for my attire. No, and to answer your question is no. With these updated versions that Trevor's introducing, or that Flock's going to be introducing, I find it very hard for us to move forward and have folks, or we're making it that much harder for folks to misuse it, because the system will not allow you to move forward and run a plate without you acknowledging these fields, which include the neighbors and the case number.
And I have the utmost respect, and I know that you guys are people of integrity, and you alone having to have that responsibility of being the admin for the Flock system, overseeing it. I know that you're the right person, to do that. And so I have the utmost trust in you that you're going to continue to use the program as the council sees fit after we take this vote. So thank you for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lieutenant Garcia, another question. So with the recent changes that we made last year, approximately on a month-per-month basis, approximately how many requests for searches have we received in the department?
So it's interesting that you say that. Today I checked and I had 27 today.
27?
Yes.
27. And with these searches, what is the process like? Do you see what the reason for the search is? Walk us through your your critical thinking as you go
So
through.
you're referring to folks requesting us access from our agency?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so they independently, and it could be for whatever reason, they may have an investigation that they believe leads into the city of Bell Gardens, and that's why they want to access our cameras. Without speaking with each individual representative from each agency, it'd be very difficult to answer that question.
Another question would be how fast or how quickly is it possible to grant access for these searches? Is it at a click of a button? Is it, do you have to review the case and then just, do your own, at your own discretion, grant access, or how does this work?
Yeah, so it is at a click of a button. So realistically speaking, if someone were to request access, I can click the accept it, and within a few hours they should have access to it.
This question is for Trevor. When on our end we grant access for a specific search, is that search just done? Is it just like performed on our system and then they're notified like, hey, these are the results, or are they granted access for a certain amount of time? What are the parameters of this?
Yeah, so they're granted access for however long you provide them access, not for that, like just for that specific search. And so it's also important to note that the audit logs that you all have, there's the agency audit that shows you all the searches that your agency has done within that specified period of time. You can also do a network audit. So that's an audit of everyone who searched your system. So if you granted access to San Francisco, and they searched your system, again, it wouldn't, the request for a search wouldn't necessarily say in the system, hey, we're searching explicitly for this. It would just be a, hey, San Francisco would like to be able to search with you. And maybe your department's talked ahead of time and they have awareness beyond that. But the request for a search wouldn't say the specific reason. However, you could do a network audit and you could see what San Francisco did search your images for. And so that's how it would work. And then you would, again, you're able to turn sharing on and off at your discretion at any time.
So again, to clarify, someone requests a search and they're granted access to our system for a certain amount of time, correct?
Correct. However long you want them to have access for.
And it's not specifically to a specific search, like I don't know, a red mid-size sedan, correct?
Correct. The request to search would come across in the system as a general request to share. And so if you're talking to the investigator in San Francisco and they said, hey, we're about to send you a request to share, and that this is the reason, that's how you would know the specific reason, but it wouldn't come across in the back end as we're requesting to share for this specific reason.
The next question is again directed to Lieutenant Garcia. Since we enacted that change in our sharing settings, approximately how many approvals have we granted?
0.
Searches? Yeah.
0.
Sorry?
0.
Zero. So
we are not, so moving forward, when we got the directive to not share, so we decided to start cutting back on all of the folks that we shared and did not allow anyone else to add to our network.
all right, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. I think we've had a great discussion so far. A lot of information to absorb. Any questions, comments, or a motion that someone wishes to
I just
please?
want to make a comment to you, Mayor. Thank you so much for being so well prepared and asking so many questions. I feel sometimes that's just me. And a lot of the questions that I was going to ask you, I already asked them. So thank you so much for being very thorough.
No, thank you so much, Dr. De Leon Francis.
I do have a question. In the current agreement, is there a section that states that the customer, meaning the City of Bell Gardens, hereby grants Flock worldwide perpetual royalty-free right and license to disclose agency data for investigative purposes?
Trevor, will you be able to answer that, or do we have to?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So it doesn't provide a worldwide right for investigatory purposes. So the purpose of that section, which I do believe is included in the contract with Bell Gardens, it gives permission for Flock to access the data in order to continue services. So if for any reason there is a corrupted file or anything that would diminish the services, that is what that section allows for. It's important to note Flock does not have a general right of access to the data. This is one of the sections that specifically enumerates when Flock may access the data in order to make sure service is maintained. And yes.
So was that a yes, that it does include that in the?
Not that specific language, not the worldwide perpetual royalty for investigations. I don't have the specific language, but I do know of this section. And it doesn't provide it specifically for investigations. It provides it to maintain services. But again, the city does own its data. This simply provides us the legal ability to, because you own it, to access it to maintain your services.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up on the previous question, since we haven't shared since, what was it, a year ago, right? Does that limit the scope of your investigations?
Sometimes it can delay it just because, like Trevor had mentioned, that one-way street of sharing sometimes isn't very popular. But a lot of the folks that we currently share with, we were able to obtain that mutual sharing before we made this transition. So there was an access that was open both ways. And when we chose to go the direction of only sharing it one way, then some of those folks may have pulled, but other folks just left it as is.
Another question for Trevor. Could you explain to us again the different forms of auditing? I know one of them was a network-wide, but what other forms of auditing do we have?
Yes, so it's just the agency audit, which are all the searches that your agency makes. And so that's an agency audit. And the network audit is an audit of anyone that you share within the searches that they have made utilizing your data. And so it's also important to note it's very rare so let's just, for the sake of this conversation, say that that Bell Gardens is sharing with San Francisco and they're into that sharing relationship. What wouldn't happen, San Francisco wouldn't say, we're going to specifically search Bell Gardens. What they would do is they would search everyone they're sharing with. So if they're looking for license plate ABC123, they wouldn't go specifically, we're going to search for ABC123 in Bell Gardens. They would just do a network search of, which would also hit Oakland, it would hit Bell Gardens, it would hit Berkeley, all these places. And so that one search for ABC123, that would show up in any network audit that Bell Gardens runs. It would show up in the network audit that Oakland runs, as well as the network audit that Berkeley runs, because they did that search that hit all of their networks. And so that's what a network audit is. And it doesn't, just because it shows up in your network audit, so ABC, you'll see in your network audit that San Francisco did a search of ABC123, and you'll see that it shows up that it did search your system. It doesn't mean it returned anything. It doesn't mean there was a hit in Bell Gardens. It's just letting you know that this is one of the searches that San Francisco did that touched on your images.
Thank you, Trevor. And to clarify, so if someone does a network search, right? Since we're not currently sharing information, this data would not be given, right, to the
Correct.
that was conducting the search. Okay.
Correct. Yep. If you do not have a sharing relationship, then your images would not get searched, in this case, hypothetically, by San Francisco.
Okay. And network audits are done by Flock, or are those managed through the agency that has a contract with Flock?
Yeah, all agencies are in charge of their own audit. So Flock does not proactively audit our customers.
Okay. Thank you so much. Great.
Mayor, if I may, I just
Yes.
want to point out the recent cancellation or refusal from community leaders in Southeast LA, in particular Linwood, decided against a flock contract. And also as recently as January 19th, Santa Cruz cut flock cameras over data sharing concerns with agencies like ICE. So this is an issue that's not only being looked at here locally, and our leaders in Sela and Southeast LA are taking action to stop this vector of risk and exposure of our community. So I want to make sure that we don't really minimize the potential of harm to our communities or downplay it, right? This is a big deal, and leaders across the nation are taking action because of where we are in history right now. This is a crucial moment to eliminate that angle of access to our community's data. Just wanted to throw that out there before the vote comes up. Thank you.
I think we've had a really good discussion and a lot of information being shared. It places us in an interesting situation where we want to provide the tools that are necessary for our police department to achieve their tasks, to move investigations forward. And I myself, along with fellow of my colleagues, we run on placing public safety, as a top priority. And Bell Gardens has come a long way when you compare it back to the early 2000s. And this is a difficult situation, primarily because like I stated, we want to support our police department, but then again, we're facing, our communities facing a terrible time with misuse of data for the sake of enforcement, for the sake of enforcing immigration law. And hence we had to make adjustments, right, based on the current climate and the misuse of technology. So I would like to propose a motion of moving forward with option 1 with the addition of monthly auditing to internally with our agency.
Is this a right moment to put another motion on the table? On the floor?
Sub motion could be.
There could be a second motion and then whoever has a second will be consider first.
My motion is motion number 3, direct the city manager to provide notice to terminate the agreement in accordance with the termination provisions of the agreement.
Is there a second on Councilmember Barcena's motion? Seeing none, we're taking the first motion. Is there a second on the first motion from Mayor De La Rosa for option number 1 with monthly internal auditing?
Yeah, I second it.
City Clerk?
Mayor, if I may, can I get clarification on your motion? So we want to, option 1 to, can legal counsel, can you just clarify what's exactly
So
about?
it would remain as is for a year, in addition to the remaining direction that you guys gave back in August, which means that there's limited access and sharing. In addition to that, we would also have monthly internal auditing by the police department.
Okay.
Thank you so much. City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Yes, thank you. Members of the Council Successor Agency, Barcena,
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen,
Yes.
and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you, City Clerk. At this time, we will now take a 15-minute recess. Thank you so much.
Mayor and members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed again.
Thank you so much. As we reconvene again, City Manager, will you please announce discussion item number 11.3?
Yes, thank you, Mayor De La Rosa. This item is placed on this agenda partially because we had the League of Cities out here, Nicholas Cabeza, talking about some of the Assembly bills and Senate bills that are out there, that have come into play. And last year, the council adopted for the first time a legislative platform for 2025. The purpose of the legislative platform is to, in advance, spell out areas that the council as a whole generally supports or opposes in various areas. Those areas include, if we can pull up the presentation here. While the presentation comes up, general admin, fiscal responsibility, economic development, and land use, housing, public safety, infrastructure, recreation, community services, immigration reform, and services. So staff brought an item in July to update the legislative platform that had just been approved in January. The purpose of that update was to create a specific section for immigration reform and services. It's kind of a subsection prior to July, so the council was amenable to revising the legislative platform and updating it. So that area was called out specifically. During the year, there were multiple letters of support, letters of opposition that were prepared and signed based on the legislative platform that was adopted by the council. What I'll talk about, so we went through the platform staff. So this would be Jen Pineda, myself, Hyla Soto, to go through to see if there were any areas that we thought we'd noticed during the year that had come up where we didn't have a specific item. We really only came up with one under general administration. This was to have a support for expanded access to technology and digital services, promote technological literacy to improve city operation and resident access to programs. So we look at other cities' legislative platforms and look at opportunities that had come up during the year. So that was an area we didn't see that we had anything specific to that purpose. In the interest of time, the rest of the legislative platform for 2026 is essentially the same as it was last revised in July. You can look at some of the items here. I'll just touch the first support and oppose of every item. Support timely and full cost reimbursement to the city for all federal, state, county mandated programs. So if somebody requires us to do something, is for us to go and try to get reimbursed for it. If it wasn't something the city came up with on its own, and supporting legislation that strengthens and expands ongoing revenue for the city. Opposing legislation that would make local agency more dependent on the state for financial stability and policy direction. In the areas of economic development and land use, supporting legislative funding that encourages the development of vacant underutilized space. And then as an example, number 7, opposing legislation that limits the city's ability to condition and deny projects that negatively impact the community. So opposing legislation that would take away the city of Bell Gardens' ability to deny projects that, while they might make sense in other parts of the state, for some reason don't make sense in the city of Bell Gardens. In the area of housing, supporting innovative collaborative policies and funding that lower housing costs, drive development. Opposing housing legislation that poses unfunded mandated costs, for which there's no guarantee of local reimbursement or offsetting. So if the state were to have proposed legislation that puts an undue burden or cost on the city and there's no way to get that cost reimbursed. In the area of public safety and wellness, supporting legislation grant opportunities that increase funding for law enforcement, fire suppression prevention, hazardous materials mitigation, EMS services. Opposing proposal policies that would raise costs or shift risk relative to law enforcement, public safety on the local governments. For instance, where the state would require the city to provide some law enforcement services without any kind of reimbursement, or for areas of law enforcement that may not suit the city of Bell Gardens and the council of the city of Bell Gardens. Infrastructure, support measures to finance local regional transportation programs and improvements. Oppose transportation proposals that would adversely affect the quality of life for residents by causing traffic congestion, air pollution, or other problems. You'll see some similarities among these where, generally speaking, opposing laws that would maybe not be specific and not to the benefit of the city of Bell Gardens, while they might otherwise benefit other areas of the state. Supporting legislation creates new funding opportunities for community facilities and parks. Generally on this one, we don't see legislation that, for the most part, takes away green space and things of that nature. So we don't have a natural opposition described here from that area. Immigration reform services, support policies, legislation for immigration reform, monitor state federal efforts to reform the immigration system, oppose federal enforcement actions, targeting immigrant residents to lead to family separations, removal of long-term community members. And then kind of just talking about these indirectly, if we go back, what is the goal here? Advocate the city's legislative interests at the federal, state, local levels, provide information updates to legislatures, council, staff on key issues, serve as an active participant with other local governments, League of Cities. League of Cities very active, as you saw earlier today, in monitoring bills. They're monitoring, as he mentioned, the AB 1708 from Salache, also monitoring the county potentially adopting a new sales tax measure, and then also to help pursue federal, state, county funding opportunities. And one of the issues that came up when this was adopted last year from the council was just as far as taking positions. So city departments, as I mentioned up there, encouraged to monitor, be knowledgeable about any legislative issues related to their particular areas. But requests for the city to take positions on legislative matters are directed by the city manager based on this legislative platform here. So when the legislation aligns with the platform, whether that's an oppose or a support, city staff will draft position letters for the mayor's approval, transmit them to the appropriate recipient. There was discussion on what would happen if there was some approval, let's say a support position that was clearly in opposition to the platform. Council members are free to support or oppose legislation on their own as individual council members. But in that case, the item will be brought back to the council for further discussion where there was a clear oppose or a clear support. And let's say in this case, the mayor wanted to sign a letter on behalf of the city that was opposite of that. And I think we didn't have that issue. That was expressed as a potential concern last year. We didn't have that issue come up in 2025. And I think it would just, if you see with some of the detail we have there, for it to come up, it would be something that would be very easy to bring to council. Even if it was something that was of, an urgency legislation or some kind of emergency legislation, we could call a special meeting to seek the council's guidance if a request from the mayor was in opposition to what the council had approved through this legislative platform here. So with that, in the interest of time, I'll be happy to answer any questions. And we see this as a living document, so as things move, it can always be brought back to the council for readoption. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. So that number 3 is a new, sort of like an amendment in addition to?
Yes, Councilmember Barcena. So that was one just in seeing other legislative platforms and then we didn't really have any other area to support these kind of technological services that might be, especially for residents getting them access to programs. So it didn't say that anywhere, and though we would assume the council would be supportive of it, we just didn't have any language that covered specifically technology and access to technology. So we just saw that as a hole that we had in our platform relative to some other cities.
Okay. I'm looking at that one, just would that include maybe like any legislature that supports data centers?
So I would say data centers would be more into the land use side of things. This would be more for access to programs. So for residents or for potential city use of technology for the city's purposes, for operational purposes, if there were, let's say, opportunities to create some kind of a state fund to provide wireless service to socioeconomically disadvantaged communities, or where residents or youth programs or nonprofits would have access to funding or to equipment for technological services. But as far as like data centers, we would, I think, put that more, that would fall more under the land use. And maybe I think kind of fall into with what you're describing potentially in the number 7. So let's say there was some legislation that limited the city's ability to condition and deny projects that negatively impact the community. That I think would fall under that category more appropriately.
Great, thank you for explaining that. Appreciate it.
Mayor, if I may. I just want to say thank you to staff for continually bringing this item back. I really appreciate the updates. I remember when I got to serve as mayor, this was a huge priority. It allows us to use the bully pulpit of the mayorship to really go out and advocate for our community. So, I would encourage, not only Mayor De La Rosa, but any, of us to once again become mayor, or, for the first time become mayor, to really, take this serious and use this as leverage when, writing letters, testifying, speaking with electeds, that this is a foundational document that the city can point to and say, this is something that all of our values align with, right? I think the question to the data centers point is a really good one. It's a good example. But I think ultimately, if something of such entice or maybe engagement, I think the mayor at the time, whoever that may be, they bring that item to the council and we have that discussion, and ultimately decide whether or not we want to go all in and support it or not. But yeah, those are my thoughts. But again, I appreciate bringing this forward and seeing this again. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any questions, comments? And if not, may I have a motion and second to adopt the proposed state and federal legislative platform?
So move.
I'll second.
City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Members of the Council of Successor Agency Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen, and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Now moving on to the next item. City Manager, would you please announce discussion item number 11.4?
Yes, thanks again, Mayor De La Rosa. This item's a carry-on from an item that was presented to the council at the last council meeting where approval was received, and we just want to get some further direction as far as specifics regarding the alternatives. Okay, the alternatives to the banner pole placement, either over Florence East, and I'll turn over to Bernie Inigo as our Public Works Director to provide more detailed information. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. For background, on January 26th, staff provided the council with an assessment of potential holiday decoration expansion alternatives. This included installing new poles at key entry corridors into the city, renting holiday decorations through a third-party vendor, and assessing the feasibility of purchasing Edison-owned poles. The City Council directed staff to provide further assessment on the installation of holiday banner poles with holiday banners at the following 2 locations. The first one was Florence Avenue, east of Eastern Avenue, and the second location on Eastern Avenue, north of Florence Avenue. This was the aerial photograph that was shown, showing the 2 possible locations. And as a reminder, the estimated cost for each location would be $325,000. The first location with conceptuals is Florence Avenue, east of Eastern Avenue. On the left image here, we show the banner, and this is looking at it eastbound on Florence Avenue, and the photo on the right shows the same concept for the banner and the poles heading westbound. As far as the daily traffic volumes for this section of Florence Avenue, heading westbound during peak hours, which are defined at 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. is approximately 4,300 vehicles. The second location here is Eastern Avenue north of Florence. On the left, we see the conceptual for the poles in the banner. This is looking at it on Eastern, looking northbound. And on the right, we see the same concept looking southbound. For this section of road, for the same peak hours, the traffic volume heading northbound would be approximately 2,300 vehicles. So in other words, 2,000 less vehicles than what we would expect to see on Florence. In regard to the lead times, staff is still engaging contractors to determine the availability and lead time for the necessary poles. We expect to have a definitive response within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Just for reference, for traffic signal poles, the general lead time can range between 6 to 9 months. And this is due to custom fabrication, the material supply chain issues, and also the high demand for poles as other agencies are undertaking traffic signal projects. In conclusion, if the City Council selects a location for the holiday banner poles and banner and directs staff to proceed with that procurement, staff will proceed with the procurement of the holiday banners and prepare any necessary plans and specifications for improvements, and then present those to the City Council for approval at a subsequent City Council meeting. Again, as a reminder, the fiscal impact for each respective location would be $325,000, no matter if Florence or Eastern is chosen. It is staff's recommendation that the City Council, 1, provide directions to staff regarding the location of the holiday banner pole alternatives on either Florence Avenue or Eastern Avenue, or receive and file the report. That concludes the presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Mayor, if I may. Just for clarification, I think both locations are on Florence, right? One of them's on Garfield and then Eastern, or?
No, one location will be on Florence, just east of Eastern Avenue,
Okay.
over by the Applebee's. And the other one is on Eastern Avenue, just north of Florence. So we have one on Florence, and then the other one would be on Eastern.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I may. I think thank you so much for Bernie for bringing this back. Really appreciate seeing this again. And I think, this is going to be a tough one. And I'm being sarcastic about that, by the way. But this is I'm excited to see this. And again, I want to be thankful to the council for moving forward with this in the last meeting. This is just my suggestion, but hopefully the rest agree with it. I think ideally it would make sense for it to be on Florence, seeing as folks are getting off the freeway on the 710. So I think that's be the first thing you see. And those are my thoughts. I think it'd be great. And usually I don't go north or I should say east on Florence when I get off the 710. I usually go south. So, there's no preference on that either. I want to make sure that's clear for the legal counsel.
One more, Mayor, if I may. So this banner, is this the banner that is customizable with messages and things like that, or is this more of a one-time sort of season greetings banner?
The banner that's represented here it's a one-time LED lit banner. It's customized in that if we were to pursue a message with a city logo, that's what we will get. It would not be like a message board type of a banner that can be changeable or programmed to say different messages. So the banner at the cost we see here, the $10,000 is just for that.
Councilmember Barson, and I think for the rest of the council too. I think the banner, so this really gives us the ability as to where the poles are going to go. I know there was some discussion on the banner, but if we get really just an idea of where the banner poles are, it gives us the ability to go look at the actual ground, look at the soil, see what the easements, right of ways, anything underground. The banner itself really is for, I think, just depiction purposes right now. But we heard everything at the last meeting, with all the different options are out there and are kind of looking to see, is there something that, there was some direction in one way, but is there something that kind of fits everything that was discussed? So this part of it, I just want to make sure everybody knows it's not really, this decision here doesn't really affect what the exact banner is going to look like. That'll still be something that we come back for council's ultimate okay on the design part of it. And it's a lower cost part of it. It's a small percentage of the cost, but we really want to look at where's the location so we can kind of start digging in to make sure we don't need to come back and say, hey, there's an issue here for some reason or other. I hope that helps answer the question, Councilman.
I'd like to make a motion and move forward with placing the banner on Florence Avenue.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilwoman Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guillen, and Mayor De La Rosa.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, lastly, we'll move over to council member comments.
I believe that's me again, going first. Let's see. Yes, I have a question, probably for the chief. We have some issues with donation boxes over by the high school where there's a lot of vandalizing. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And there was a resident from that area whose car got heavily vandalized. She got in contact with me. I just wanted to ask if we've looked into relocating those, and that might be a question for Mike or whoever, relocating those boxes, because I feel like that's like a real problem there. And I don't know if that's like, I would imagine it's MUSD, right?
Councilmember Barcena, Dr. Leon Sanchez asked about this probably 4 to 6 weeks ago. Manny Acosta reached out and spoke with the principal at the high school because it is on their private grounds. We asked if there was a way they could move them maybe behind the secured area in the parking lot that's open for like parents dropping students off and students and teachers where people could still make donations. He seemed to indicate that he indicated that they would have them removed. They wasn't really sure, when they got approved, and they're not really of much value to the school. So we can double check to see. It sounds like they're still there. We looked at some pictures back, I think from 21, 22, and they weren't there previously. So we can circle back with them to see, if there hasn't been movement made, when are they planning on moving them? So the short answers are yes, it's on MUSD property of the high school. We've talked to them about at least securing them behind fences so that they're accessible during certain hours. And if not, which it didn't seem like that was feasible, if not, could they please remove them? To which they said, yes, they would have them removed. So we just need to circle back to see what happened with that, why they haven't had them removed.
Okay, thank you. Just want to thank staff as usual for all their work. Thank you to the council. Thank you, city manager. And yeah, it's a good start of 2026. I feel like regardless of all the difficult things that have gone on, I think that the city is doing great and can't wait to see that banner be put up and all that good stuff you guys are working on. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that meeting, for this meeting. I appreciate everybody's time. It's a lot of discussion, and I want to also recognize the mayor for asking very, very good questions for the discussion we had on that item. Obviously, these are tough discussions, and it makes me feel very confident that someone to his stature and asking those questions. Some of the questions that I didn't even think about really were on point. So appreciate Mayor De La Rosa for doing that. What else am I gonna say? I just want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day next week. And stay safe and look after your loved ones and take care of yourselves. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great night.
So I just want to reaffirm my commitment to the city. Public safety is and will remain my top priority. And every decision that I make, I keep the well-being of the residents in mind. Also right now, one of the things that's utterly upsetting, I mentioned already, is how the Attorney General Bonta has handled this on gaming and how it's really going to affect our community. So making that commitment, putting pressure on him to see how we can regulate what he did, and continue advocating for our city, to make sure that our concerns are not ignored, especially at the state level. So hoping that that happens. And thank you so much for putting your trust in me to continue serving you. And thank you to the staff for all the things that you've done so far this year. I know it's only been about a month, but I feel like there's so much going on already, especially with some of the tragedy that's have happened in our community. So thank you for stepping up and for all your work.
Thank you so much, Dr. De Leon Sanchez. Right.
Thank you for everything you guys have done this past 2 weeks, has it been? All I can say is thank you. I appreciate you, each and every single one of you. I know it's been hard. It's been a long one, but thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to thank staff for such a great meeting and as well to my fellow colleagues. Thank you for everything that you all do, not only on the dais, but also in, on the streets, right, with the people. It's amazing. I have a couple of requests. Have a few concerns from residents on the 5900th block of Agra Street, requesting a speed bump, just due to the constant speeding and a couple of accidents that have occurred and total loss there as well. And also, aside from that, I would like to see if we could have our code enforcement team check out 8056 Garfield Street. There is a tenant there who is concerned of potential litigation in regards to the ADA compliance there, and they would like to get that peace of mind from the city, confirming whether or not they're in compliance or not. I will provide the phone information as well for the tenant there. And there's also another tree removal request from a resident. And I will provide more details on that address as well. Other than that, I want to thank everyone again for such a great meeting. And I would like to close this meeting in solidarity for Carlos Hernandez and Christopher Benitez, both brothers who passed away in the recent weeks fire. So with that said, let's take a moment of silence. And if there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I will now adjourn the council meeting at 9:05 p.m.